Welcome to Punching Up with Sean Conroy. I am Sean Conroy, and this podcast is called Punching Up, and we are officially starting season 2. This is episode 1. It will go on from here. And I want to start today by talking about something that I think is very important to me in my life right now, and is something that I think a lot of writers take for granted. The secret weapon that every writer has, writers of sitcom pilots, which is my focus, writers of screenplays, which is also something I'm trying to focus on now, writers of Bazooka Joe comics, whatever it is. God, that's such a hack reference, Bazooka Joe. Does anybody even know what that is anymore? Dixie cups, But anyway, it's the first draft. A lot of people call it the vomit draft. A lot of people call it the shitty first draft. Anne Lamott, who I love, not just because she's great at giving writing advice, but also because she has become very political at a time when people should be. She calls the first draft the down draft because you're just getting everything down. Then she says, then you do an updraft where you shape it and adjust and change things and make it different. And then I love this. She says you do a dentist draft where you go over everything very particularly, like a dentist does with your teeth, or at least with my teeth, where he is invariably, or she is invariably disappointed and doesn't understand how I could have let things go this way. But I forget all the time that the first draft is not something that needs to be perfect, that it can be whatever it is. And then you can go, okay, I have this. Now I'm going to build on top of this. It's the foundation. It's all the other stuff that comes in later that you have to be very particular with. And what ends up happening to me a lot of the time is I'm very particular in the first draft and I don't get done what I need to get done. So this is here. There's a lot going on here. And when I say here, I mean here, because this is the second draft of the podcast. We're going to fix everything that didn't work in the first season. There's nothing that didn't work in the first season. Who am I trying to fool here? But because of some other stuff that has gone on, I have been thinking about my life and saying, what if I tried to do a second draft of my life? The first draft so far has been amazing and incredible, but there's always stuff you can do differently. There's always stuff you can change. And for me, I think it really boils down to just a couple of things. And by that, I mean hundreds of things that I would change. But one thing is taking better care of myself physically. And a second thing is being more committed to a writing habit and a writing routine. Those are both things that I am capable of controlling, and that is my plan going forward. I am going to do what I can to control both of those things. And in fact, I have already implemented certain things in my life, and we'll talk about that more as we go through all this. I've had some great success in comedy with writing stuff and with performing stuff and writing for television and running writers' rooms on various TV shows. That has been amazing. I've allowed some of that stuff to get away from me a little bit for various reasons. Some of the stuff I have not done great with is taking care of myself physically, and taking care of myself. I don't know what the right word to use is, but in terms of interpersonal relationships. And I am going to try to do more of those going forward. To do more of those. What does that even mean? I've just allowed myself to not have boundaries in certain areas over the course of the last half century. God. But I'm trying to fix that. And there's various ways you can do that, and I'm doing all of them. A lot of it is just looking at videos on TikTok, by the way, or what's the other one? Instagram. But let's talk about the physical for a second and how it relates to the boundaries thing. Last week, I weighed myself. I decided I was going to weigh myself for the first time in a while. And I was like, oh, I will have gone up a bit. And I went up so much that it was startling. It was frightening. Not frightening the way, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is, but I was like, holy shit, that is not good. So I had already decided to make some changes, and that just reinforced that. It was, when you're a writer, you get notes. You get notes from the network, you get notes from the executives, you get notes from the production company, you get notes from other writers. So this was a universe giving me notes of like, okay, listen, we need to change what's going on with the main character, that being me. So I started to think about it, and I was like, what if everything that has gone on in my life up until now, I consider it a first draft, and now I'm going to do the second draft and build on what I've already done and accomplished, but take the notes that the universe is giving me and change those things. I don't know. I like metaphors. So there you go. And the other thing is, I got on the scale, and it was a lot. It was a lot. And I think there's a part of me still, I was going to say I used to, but there is a part of me still that looks at that and sees it as a moral failing. And what I am trying to do is change that so that it's just a data point. And I go, okay, this is where it is now. These are the things I have to do to get it to this different place. I'm not a bad person just because I love Ben & Jerry's coffee, whatever. I wish I could think of something funny once in a while. But here's the other part of all of this that is very sad, which is that my mother, about 3 weeks ago, died. Not something, just she had been in the hospital for a month. She had had a valve replacement surgery on her heart, and eventually it became apparent that things were not going in the direction that we hoped they would, and she died. And it was April 16th. My brother called me and said, Mom died. And it was, like I said, it was very sad. But I will admit, there was a part of me, a tiny part, but a part that exists, that was gratified that he said Mom died. He didn't say Mom passed. He didn't say Mom passed away. And the reason that was gratifying to me was because my mother hated those expressions. She was a very truthful, honest person who believed in precision of language. And she made a point. She made a lot of points, but one of the points she made over the years was passed and passed away. She would be like, passed what? What did they pass? What did they pass away from? And it's supposed to make it easier for people, but it doesn't make it any less sad. Just tell us they died. That's what we need to know. So I've never spoken to my brother about the fact that he said that, but I was very aware of it. And I wonder if it was a conscious choice he made. I don't know. And maybe someday I'll find out. But what happens when that goes down is, or at least for me, I started thinking about my own future. Maybe I'm a narcissist, but it makes you reflect on your existence. It just does. And what I started to think about, my mom was 83, my dad is about to be 90, in my mind, I'm like, I have 25 to 30 years left. Maybe more, maybe 100. Who knows where they'll be, by then. Maybe 1,000. Maybe we'll be able to download our consciousness into a hard drive and then all live on a holodeck. But I've seen the entire first show of Star Trek. I've read Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov and Philip K. Dick and Arthur C. Clarke and all the other science fiction writers who have middle initials. And I know that things always go wrong. So even if that happens, it'll be a nightmare. But let's say there's 25 to 30 years left. How do I want to live those years? What do I want to do? My mother was struggling with heart problems. Her mother died of heart issues. And here's the thing. 20 years ago, a little more than 20 years ago, I had my own heart issues. I ended up in the emergency room with congestive heart failure. Now, I won't get into the whole backstory, and it hasn't happened since then. It was, I think, specifically related to a particular doctor who was trying to treat me for an irregular heartbeat at the time and gave me too much. Like I said, I was not going to go into all the backstory, but I almost died. I went into the ER. They took me to check my blood pressure, and the nurse was like, oh, the machine is broken, so let's use this other machine. Oh no, this machine is also broken. This is so weird that 2 blood pressure machines would be broken. Let's go use this third machine. And we went to the third machine, and she was like, I can't believe this one is broken too. And there was, she kind of yelled in the emergency room, like, why are all these machines broken? Doctor came over and said, those machines aren't broken. He has no blood pressure. The blood in his body is not circulating. It's as if he has been in a terrible car accident or has been shot. That's the same effect that it has had on his body, whatever's going on. So I was in the ICU for 8 days. The point is, because I'm a writer, I started thinking about what if I could write a second draft of my life? And now I'm going to do that. I have goals. I have things I want to accomplish. Some of them are more tangible than others. Writing is tricky because all you can control is doing it. You can't control what happens after you're done. Maybe you write a great script and it just sits in your computer for the rest of your life, or maybe you write a great script and you win an Academy Award. You sell it for $1 million, whatever. There's a million things that can happen, but you have no control over any of that. All you have control over is the work. So one of the things I really want to do is show up and do the work on a regular basis, which is hard. It's so easy to let writing time get away from you. There are so many things that can take priority over actual writing, because writing is hard, and you're like, well, I should send some emails, I should look at social media, I should bake a pie, I should juggle, I should, so I am really focused on doing a couple of hours of writing every day. And a couple of hours seems like so little, but it's so much compared to a lot of what I do. A lot of times I'll sit down and write for 5 or 6 hours once every month and feel like I'm accomplishing something. I'm not. Well, I'm accomplishing something. The other thing is writers love deadlines, or they hate them, but they're very helpful. And I was thinking about my physical transformation. I'm already assuming it's going to be a transformation, which I think it is going to be a transformation. And I'm giving myself a deadline, which is this. In 14 months, I will turn 60 years old. I'm 58. Somebody said this on social media the other day, and somebody sent me a DM today that was like, you look so much younger on Zoom. And it's like, there's so many things about that. Like, I know it was definitely 100% well-intentioned, but there's so many things I could get into with that. But thank you for saying that. Point is, I am 58. I will be 60 on July 13th, 2027. My plan for that day is that I will by then have lost 65 pounds. That's the hard number. And I will have lost 20% of my body fat, because it's obviously two different things. Weight and fat are two different things. So I'm going to bring my body fat level down and also bring my weight down. 20% on the body fat. So I will go from, I don't remember the numbers, but it's like I'll go from 90% fat to 70% fat, something like that. And one of the ways I'm going to do that is walking every morning, right? 10,000 steps. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So does every journey, by the way. I don't think that's such an incredible statement. Lao Tzu, or whoever said that. I think it was Lao Tzu. I don't remember. It was somebody a long time ago. Maybe it was Milton Berle. But anyway, I am going to walk. But also the thing that I am doing, and I have been doing this for a while. I was even doing it while I was at my folks eating ice cream every night. Kettlebells. For some reason, I love kettlebells. They just are very aesthetically pleasing to me. Just this ball with a handle on it that you swing around. I love it. So that's going to be something that I do on a regular basis. I'm also, and I said this a year and a half ago, and it didn't take, but I'm going to try it again. I used to read all the time. I used to read books. One summer when I was about 22, I rented a house with a bunch of friends down at the Jersey Shore, and they all had regular jobs. I was a school teacher at the time, so I had the whole summer off and still got paid. So I stayed there the whole summer, and I literally just took a chair down to the beach and a book and read a book every day. It was amazing. I haven't done any reading in years, except social media, Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and it's just so awful. So I'm going to try, and this sounds like it's so tiny, but if I could just read one book a month, I'd be delighted. So we'll see what happens with that. Another thing that I'm really going to focus on is I love performing, and I have totally let my performing slide. It started years ago when I started writing for television. It became much more difficult to get out on a regular basis and do stand-up. I still did a lot of improv. The theater that I used to perform at all the time has been sold, so now I'm only there once in a while. I stopped doing stand-up. I got into this is a whole other thing, but I allowed my boundaries to be I didn't have boundaries, and I stopped performing stand-up. So I'm trying to get back to that. So far, I have committed to these things for a week, and it's felt really good. Who knows how long it'll go on. But this is going to be part of what I talk about in season 2 of this show, which is second draft. I'm sorry, I'm obsessed with that metaphor. One thing I realized giving myself notes from season 1 is I did a lot of episodes by myself, which I'm also doing right now, but it's way more fun for me to have a guest on the show than it is for me to just talk. I have so many things I want to tell people about writing and about writing sitcom pilots and all that stuff. But I also just love talking to people and finding out what they think about stuff. So I'm going to do a lot more of that in this season. So it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. It's more guests in season 2. I am on a journey, a personal journey. All of us are on a journey as writers. I hope you feel comfortable with that. We're all trying to make something and then make something good, which is really the essence of the first draft and the second draft. First you have to make it, then you can make it good. I have made my life. Now I'm going to make it good. It's been good. It's been good. A lot of it has been very good, but kettlebells, writing every day, walking every day, reading books, big aspirations. And also I'm at a point where a lot of my friends who I like went to school with or whatever, who are around my age, are kind of in this weird headspace of like, well, we're old, we're done, life is over. And it's like, no, I don't agree. I think there's a lot more left. So if the idea of a 58-year-old man, even though I look younger on Zoom, in real life, well, who knows in real life what I look like, but on Zoom, I look much younger than 58. Of somebody like that cleaning themselves up, not cleaning themselves up, but, you know, getting in shape. I get so sick of all these fitfluencers who are all people who clearly have eaten leaves for their entire lives and have abs they've had since they were 6 years old. That's not me, but I'm on a similar journey as a lot of them, and I'm going to work on myself. So if all of that interests you, or if just the writing process itself interests you, this is the podcast for you. I also have a newsletter I do on a regular basis. It used to be called something else, but guess what it's called now? It's called The Second Draft. And I talk about stuff that's personal. I talk about writing stuff. So you can subscribe to that on my website. I also teach writing classes, classes in how to write a sitcom pilot. I have a class starting at the end of June. So you could, if you start the June class, you could finish a pilot by midsummer. And wouldn't that be a Midsummer Night's Dream? Yeah. So go to my website, sign up for my newsletter. If the class interests you, hit me up. We can talk about it, or just sign up. I don't know what you're going to do. Like and subscribe. I also want to tease next week's episode. Like I said, I'm going to have guests, and I already recorded an episode for next week with the amazing Andy Daly, one of my favorite performers and favorite writers. I think of Andy, who I've worked with for forever. He's just an absolutely transcendent talent as a performer and as a writer. And he had a lot of interesting stuff to say. So tune in for that episode. And that's it. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Punching Up with Sean Conroy. And I am Sean Conroy. I will be punching up. Thanks, everybody.